read below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on September 4th, 2014 at 12 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code 551-041, 551-050, and a copy furnished to the county clerk at Cameron County, Texas. Meeting's in order. Call meeting in order, and there is four of them. And if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, invitation to the audience for discussion. Anyone here have anything they'd like to say? He would.
Yes, sir. I'd like to advise the board that on Saturday morning when the wastewater personnel went to the wastewater treatment in Laguna Vista, they found that the power was off and there was some theft involved. They went through the fence, they cut the fence, chain link fence, they went in, they cut the power off from the AP, from way up there, so they must have had extensions. They went inside the AP box, they cut the bolt off, and then they cut the wires in there and cut the inside of our control panel and stole some wires in there.
How much copper did they get?
Well, it's like 8 strands, but the total amount that it cost was like over $6,000. I don't know how much they would be selling it for or what they were going to do with it. We did file a report with the Sheriff's Department. And all this, we looked into our SCADA and there was a connection that was mentioned. There was a minor incident to when the power was off. And I believe they were getting calls in the beginning. Charles, can you explain more of that on the connection to from SCADA to the phone calls that they didn't meet up?
Yeah, well, the SCADA, because for heartbeat, basically that alarm could be something with an internet cell phone tower going down, or it could be constant. So rather than having a nuisance for a heartbeat alarm, it was just set at a low priority, so it wouldn't call out. But in this case, it was actually somebody disconnecting the generator and cutting off the utility power at the.
Knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing.
What they were doing.
We did ask the Sheriff Department if this is going on throughout the valley. They said yes. And I believe valley mud up here, like along the river, was hit at the same time. So I think it's just professional personnel doing that. So that's all we can do for right now. Wait for the report. I believe the report was going to be sent in.
It was sent to me. But I called, but it wasn't ready.
Carlos,
Yes, sir.
what was the explanation for the alarm going off?
Yes.
Well, because it was like in our SCADA.
He just said it right
We have
now.
high priority alerts and low priority won't do a call out. And so heartbeat was set at low priority. But what we did, since there's this issue with theft, is we changed it to high priority yesterday. So now if there's a loss of power, even though a lot of them are going to be false alarms, it'll call out so we can go check it out and see what's going on.
Did you
Right.
Did you try it?
Yes, we tried it this afternoon, and the only thing we did see is that it didn't call anybody. Then when we turned the power on, he called like the personnel right away. Right.
What the power's back on or what?
So
The power was off. So we're gonna work with it again tomorrow. Try to make it
It should come in and tell you power is off and then power is back on.
Yeah, well, we need to make sure the entire path for the internet phones and everything's on backup power. Because if something in the line of communication loses power because there's no backup, it's not going to be able to call out. So we'll take a look at that.
Carlos, insurance?
What's that again?
Insurance?
No, we haven't called the insurance yet on it.
We're waiting on the police report.
Yeah, once we get everything, all the information, we'll get something.
Usually best to notify right away, and then when the police report send it in. But I think you need to contact them right away.
We'll take care of that.
What was it in the drop or what was it stolen from the pole down?
From the AP box that's inside the property.
Yeah.
There's a AP box that's locked up. Nobody goes in there by the AP, but they did cut the lock off and went in there, and that's where they cut the wires, and then they cut the inside and then just pulled them out right there.
Did the AP say that the drop in belong to them or belong to us?
No, it belonged to us.
On our side.
Right. It's on our side.
Okay.
I might have dropped a... The next thing that I did, we did check all the lights around the perimeter, and there's 4 lights that are working, that weren't working, so now.
Finish taking this up under GM report.
What's
I
that
don't
again?
want to take this up under GM Manager's
The
report.
reason I didn't have it in there because the agenda was already posted when this happened.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
So you put it right up.
go that route. The other one is, we'll be seeing a coliform positive. Coliform is everywhere, everything you touch is coliform. On one of the samples from the water treatment plant, and it'll be posted on our website. The reason that possibly came out, maybe the wind factor, if there's a little bit of wind and dust blowing, or maybe the sampler that did the sampling touched the sample. Well, we don't know exactly what it was, but it's coliform positive, meaning that it's not a serious thing, but it's still, coliform is the way you find out if there's anything more in the sample than it's supposed to be. So actually, that's all it is. It's just going to be on our website, so you can be aware of that. If there's going to be any questions, it'll be directed to Mr. Mario Vela, so he'll answer any questions.
Have that happened, isn't there additional samples made?
Correct.
By the state?
Right.
So they can verify what it was?
There was another sample done, and
Most
the
of
same
the
thing
time-
happened.
most of the time
And it's
it's
only in
out.
one area that,
Yeah.
close to dead end, so dead end main.
Yeah, well, we're also working on, because it's on dead end lanes where there used to be service back in the day, but now there's really no service on those lines. And so a lot of those, we're looking at moving the sampling point to where there's, continual flow.
That's all I have for,
And anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something, under open forum. I see, John Toby's a candidate for election for the board. It's a matter of public record. Mr. Toby owes over $42,000 in taxes that he hasn't paid for I don't know how many years. And he's seeking to get elected to this board. And one of the responsibilities of board members once they're elected is to levy taxes on the taxpayers of the district. So everybody else pays his taxes, and he gets elected, gonna be his board that he doesn't pay his taxes himself. So I just wanted to make that record. So
Anyone else? Hearing no one else, we'll go to item 4, consider approved minutes of the emergency meeting of August 20th, 2014, and regular meeting of August 27th, 2014. You have a motion to approve, Garza?
On the emergency meeting, that abstained because I wasn't present.
No problem.
The other one, correct.
Those in favor? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Got a second, Mr. Kiplinger. Those in favor of approval? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 5, consider discuss work progress in Port Isabel Water Resource Commission facilities presented by Corello Engineers. Big distance in there. I hope you're not going to read all that.
No.
Okay.
Just the slide.
That's very good. You ain't going to figure it out.
Okay, that should help. Huh? Yeah.
Wait over there, please. I see that. That alert is looking right at you.
wait a minute. Use this. Same thing. You like paper?
So here in the back.
So, close to the computer. Yeah. Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to come and give this presentation. My name is Haney Michel with Brdmtng Engineers. Also with me today is Leon Ann, Eva Stein-Darling, Andy Salveson of Corora Engineers, and Gabe Benavides with Half and Associates. So today we're going to talk about the objectives of this meeting, why this meeting is important. We'll also talk about the project schedule, and then why are we here. We'll talk about the proposed water reclamation facility and additional needs and recommendations, more specifically things that need to be done at your Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant. And then we'll talk about the cost overview and what our expectations are in the cost, and then finally, what are the next steps. All right, so we'll talk about the status update, where we are on the project in terms of the schedule, and then we'll talk about several options for treatment of your advanced treatment, and then hopefully we can come up with a consensus on what the next steps need to be. We were given the notice on May 14th. The next day we had a kickoff meeting with staff. We did the hydraulic model for the wastewater plant and an on-site condition assessment where we had a mechanical guy as well as Dave from they walked the plant, looked at every piece of equipment, and assessed the condition of the equipment, and put that all together in a report with pictures. We also completed the blower specifications, and Charles has the specifications, and that could be used on any blowers that you guys need. We had a big meeting with TCEQ in Austin that Charles attended, and we talked about this situation with the heavy metals in your wastewater. We also talked about the disposal of the brine and what the options that are available. And today, September the 10th, we have the first presentation board, and then we have the draft facility master plan report ready for you guys by October 15th.
So, again, for the record, I'm Eva Stein-Darling with Corora Engineers. I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief reminder of why we're here. You've seen these slides before. They're from our previous workshop, but essentially why we're here is because you need water. This slide shows the projected water demands over the next few decades in acre-feet per year. If you give me another click, Daisy, we see the current allocation you have on the Rio Grande under curtailed conditions, which is sort of the relevant numbers right now, and that red area under the curve that is above the blue block is basically the projected shortfall, and you can see that shortfall is predicted to happen sometime, 2014, which is this year. So projections. But it does mean that you are in a water short condition and you need a water supply project. So another click, Daisy. With the reuse project, we can fill that shortfall for at least the next 10 years, if not longer. This is a very conservative estimate of how much water we could get out over time. You can see the red area is reduced to just a very small sliver in the future, which is more difficult to predict. So we came to the conclusion last time we spoke that potable reuse really does make sense for the district. There's a map from our previous presentation as well. Just as an overview of the project, what we're proposing to do is take effluent from the Port Isabel wastewater plant, treat it with advanced treatment technologies, and supplement the raw water supply from the Rio Grande in reservoir number 3, which would then feed both water plants number 1 and number 2, and provide a additional water supply for the district.
How much? How much water?
It's a good question. That's the next couple of slides. So the next portion of our presentation is looking at this proposed water reclamation facility, and this discussion of site selection actually plays into that question, Rudy, on how much water could be available to supplement the supply, and then I'll also talk about treatment options. Okay, just really quick. It's in million. It's depending on now or future. Port Isabel plant can provide about 0.7, and the discussion I want to get into here is if we select the site for the advanced plant at water plant 2 or at the reservoir 3 location. Actually, one more click, and that's another one. There we go. We have the opportunity to, in the future, also divert wastewater from Laguna Vista plant, further increasing those flows. So if I can get one more click, that's that little orange arrow showing you can get flow from both sides. And on the next slide, then we see that in numbers. So from the Port Isabel plant right now, you're getting something like 0.7 million gallons a day. Projected to increase as population increases. You expect water demands to increase. They'll produce more wastewater. 2045 it'll be 0.9 million gallons a day. If we move to the next one, Laguna Vista also produces more water over time in the projections. So some total, we're looking at something on the order of 1.5 million gallons a day by 2045, produced at both wastewater plants. And if we can get one more click.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Currently, Laguna Heights, who's handling that? Which plant?
It's coming to Port Isabel.
I mean, the Port Isabel. Laguna Heights is already factored in the Port Isabel.
Yeah, it mostly goes to Port Isabel, but can it go both ways?
Yes, it can. Laguna Heights can go both ways.
Yeah. So in considering the site selection, whether to locate the advanced treatment at the wastewater treatment line of the Port Isabel plant, or to locate it at reservoir number 3, there are some considerations, and that's what I'm showing on this slide. Certainly the total amount of water available now and in the future is bigger if you have the capacity to combine the effluent from both sites. So 0.9 GD versus 1.5. Now keep in mind you wouldn't be able to recover that full volume because the advanced treatment has a waste stream, RO, reverse osmosis concentrate. You would lose some of that water, but it's proportional. So you still have more by going to the reservoir site. You have to think about the space that's available at both of those sites, and we think could fit it in at both sites. It's a little tighter at the Port Isabel wastewater plant site. At the reservoir number 3 site with water plant 2, there's quite a bit of room. And then one additional major consideration in a site selection is what can you do with the brine, the concentrate from the reverse osmosis process. And at the Port Isabel wastewater site, it could simply be combined with the new outfall plan for that plant. And at the reservoir number 3 site, it's something I'd like to talk about in the next slide. One more, please. Thank you. So here's just a map showing the reservoir number 3 site on the left, and then a proposed plan for brine discharge that takes advantage of an existing drainage ditch that goes very close to the reservoir 3 site and goes all the way to the Laguna Madre. In addition, in our discussions with TCEQ, given that this discharge would be only for RO concentrate and not a municipal effluent, it would be considered an industrial discharge, be permitted as an industrial discharge, which they said we haven't had a follow-up meeting about that specifically, but it was, no, they said it was certainly feasible and seemed fairly optimistic about it.
Would this include an environmental study on the brine discharge? Because I'm looking at the map, this is considered wetlands, Carlos?
Not where you're talking about the building of the,
Well, I'm looking at
That
the...
ditch
I'm
that
looking at
runs
the-
down along Highway 100 all the way into the bay is, I don't think we really have a problem with dumping anything in there that's going to flow into the bay and into the grassy areas there. Anyway, go ahead.
it'll be a consideration because even though we're going to do it in Port Isabel, we're still going to dump the brine in the chip.
But
the TCQ says okay.
The permitting require an environmental study, and not only from TCEQ, but other environmental organizations, whether like the Sierra Club, the Audubon, and all these people.
Well, Kitlenberg, to be honest.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
right now. I think we're getting a little bit.
Presentation, I didn't mean to make a statement.
That's something we haven't gotten to yet. Certainly, if we decided to pursue that option, we would have to look into it. Going from site selection on to looking at treatment alternatives, what we would to do to produce a water that was fit to be a raw water for blending in reservoir number 3. As an outline for this direct potable reuse feasibility study, there are a few steps that are important. The first one is to define treatment goals, because this is a type of project that isn't codified in regulation. It's something that TCEQ has to permit on a case-by-case basis. It's important ahead of time to define those treatment goals. The next is to evaluate existing treatment capacity, and that's what your current water treatment plants can do. And then develop advanced treatment alternatives, and then evaluate those alternatives both for meeting the goals defined in the first point and also for cost, of course. And then finally, you want to choose one or more alternatives for a more refined analysis. So I'm going to go through those steps one slide at a time. The treatment goals, I don't want to get into too much detail. I'll put more detail there for further review if you're interested. But basically, we have treatment goals. We want to meet all drinking water requirements, of course, but at the water treatment plant, we don't have any intermediate goals that we need to meet. We want to meet certain levels for trace constituents, but those by the treatment processes that we select for other criteria will already be removed adequately. We have a total dissolved solids or a salinity goal of less than 500 milligrams per liter. Talked with staff this morning about that. We want to make sure that we are in no way degrading your current drinking water from a salinity perspective, and that is below, but not significantly below, the current range in the salinity of your drinking water.
Well, this is another question. If we blend this water with the regular treated water from the river, what kind of effect would it have, or what kind of impact would it have after the blending?
The effect should be minimal. The water quality, of the water we're producing will be much cleaner on a number of bases, organic, solid, probably pathogens, pollutants in general, than the water that you're treating right now. So because DPR is a newer type of project, they have kind of a higher bar for what you have to achieve. And so we would be, in all likelihood, improving water quality in reservoir number 3 if we change it at all. So the second point is pathogen goals. That's the thing that can make you sick. And of course, again, we're not going to comply with all. I agree. We want to meet TCEQ requirements. We want to comply with all drinking water standards. And we also want to make sure we're meeting the now starting to emerge industry standards for direct potable reuse. And none of those should be a problem in this case. And finally, and not to be dismissed too easily, we want to make sure that the aesthetics of the water, it needs to not only be safe, but it needs to be palatable. The water has to not cause any taste, color, or odor complaints on the road, because no matter what the problem is, in the end, they're going to blame the direct potable reuse project. That's the part of the public communications aspect of this, is we have to be especially careful about the aesthetics of the water.
Is there going to be a safety net or a safeguard in case one day the system has a breakdown and it's not cleaning, everything with passages, everything that's supposed to stop the discharge of the reservoir right away?
Yes. So there will be multiple monitoring control points and bailout options, if you will, to ensure that the water that meets the reservoir is up to spec. So the second part in this analysis, which we've already done, is looking at the existing water treatment plants in terms of what treatment credits they provide, and that can be counted towards any goals that TCEQ may hold us to. Since this water goes both to Water Plant 1 and Water Plant 2, we had to look at them both. We know Water Plant 1 is older and a little less robust, and the treatment at Plant 2 is much stronger. The membrane plant is simply a better mousetrap. But in order to make this analysis consistent and generalizable, we went with the treatment that is provided by Water Plant 1, because that is the minimum treatment in our analysis. Additional existing assets y'all have is the pipeline from Puerto Isabel to Laguna Vista. That's a huge asset, because it means you don't need to build another one to get that water from A to B. And finally, you also have reservoir number 3, which is also a huge asset, because it provides not only blending water, a big blending volume, and it provides retention time. Again, as one more safeguard, though we hope to never have to use it, in case something happens where we have multiple failures unforeseen, that we can say, okay, we have time to react to this problem because you have so much storage time in the reservoir. Moving forward, we evaluated four advanced treatment alternatives. The first 3 alternatives are very similar, and we're going to carry those forward in more detailed evaluation. The fourth alternative is kind of a stand-in for a number of different combinations we looked at, and I'll go through those one by one. So alternative number 1 is shown here. It's the, at this point, standard microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and UV peroxide base. So, those are the 3 main steps in the MF, RO, UV, H2O2 are those 3 main treatment steps, with an optional chlorination step at the end in case we need additional disinfection after conferring with TCEQ. Alternative number 2 is a very slight variation on that. We replaced the reverse osmosis with nanofilters. Very similar technology, very similar platform. The pumps are virtually the same pressure vessels. From the outside, you couldn't even tell the difference. The difference between those two is that reverse osmosis removes more salt, but requires more power. Nanofiltration removes less, requires less power, and may provide some benefits on the brine discharge as well, because if it doesn't remove as much salt, it's not concentrating as much salt. The third alternative is a variation on that same theme, where instead of having the last advanced oxidation step with peroxide, we use chlorine, which is a more familiar chemical, and has been shown in recent studies that Andy is doing in other parts of the country to be more effective, and you carry a disinfectant residual at the same time. So it's kind of 2 birds with 1 stone.
But that might eliminate the last step also?
But that would, so you wouldn't have that double chlorination effectively. And then alternative number 4 is kind of a stand-in for a number of different alternatives we looked at. It's centered around ozone and biofiltration instead of removing pollutants via reverse osmosis. The challenge, of course, is that you all need salt removal, so we still have to put in that nanofilter. And because of that requirement, these other alternatives become cumbersome, and that means they're also expensive. So if we look at the overall evaluation of these 4 trains that I just talked about, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm showing pathogen requirements. It meets almost all of them. Just that 4th train again has a little bit of an issue. On the pollutant removal, we're removing salts, we're removing trace pollutants, we're likely removing nitrate to enough degree. We haven't gotten to the complete analysis on that. But the upshot is we don't really want to consider alternative 4 anyway. So we're really pretty well set with these 3 alternatives. They're pretty similar, and we want to carry those forward in terms of a more detailed analysis. And then Andy's going to talk a little bit about how we take that to the next level.
Good evening. Andy Salveson. So what you see in front of you is a photo of a reverse osmosis skid. One of the things that we were looking to do for this project is to find some cost-effective solutions. So Ava went through some of the different treatment trains, and funneling down on, in this example, where we're going to show you the costs, probably the treatment train that's going to provide you the absolute highest quality water. So similar to, as one example, Orange County Water District, where they're now doing 100 million gallons a day of advanced treated purified water with the processes I'm going to talk about, and the one we costed out to show you here. So why a skid-mounted system, where essentially what we're looking at is having a manufacturer integrate in the different advanced treatment components into one unit. And so there's 2 reasons for that. One of them is it reduces cost, and the second one is you have a single point of contact. You have a point of responsibility. So the information you see here is from a company we've worked with before, and they integrate typically GE products, and GE is one of the leading manufacturers of advanced treatment technology. You could use other things, but just as an example for this discussion. Next slide. Thank you. So running through some technical numbers and words here, we're looking at, in this case, some conservative numbers. So again, when we're going to show you the end cost, it's based upon ultrafiltration, very similar to the microfiltration unit you have at your new water plant, and a high flow capacity for that, a lot of water coming in. The reverse osmosis, we designed it in this preliminary analysis, is what we call a 75% recovery, which means that it really could produce and push more water than that, but that's a very low end in terms of it's very, very conservative for the costing. Then we do advanced oxidation, and then within the costs and the proposals that we've read from this company called H2O Engineering that works with GE, got all the process monitoring to the question of making sure that you're getting a high quality final product. We put all the bells and whistles on this. So not just 6 points of monitoring for each process, but double points of monitoring, so that if one monitoring process is off, the other ones can still pick up if each process is providing the right level of treatment.
So we should have had double points of monitoring at the wastewater plant.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had a copper spoon.
For critical stuff like this, I'm a huge believer in a little extra money on the monitoring side. And we're talking about, like, for example, down the list there, we talk about we talk about total organic carbon monitoring and electrical conductivity. They both monitor the reverse osmosis process. One of them is for $5,000 meter, another one's a $15,000 to $20,000 meter. But having them both and they monitor slightly different things gives you a lot of confidence. So anyways, we went through, we got a formal proposal from this one integrator, and essentially giving the entire package from the end of your wastewater plant to the end of the advanced treatment plant, where it would then feed in the reservoir. And so the price was slightly under $3 million. We rounded it up. It includes all the chemical storage, because with these membranes, as you have with your water plant, there's chemicals you use for cleaning them. There's feed systems, pumps. There's advanced monitoring. That's what I'm talking about. You've got equalization tanks, electrical instrumentation. You see all that. We tried to include each line item. And so that $3 million, which would be for the integrator to give you the entire package of equipment, comes down to about $3,848,000. So, Leon? So we take the number for the membrane, the advanced treatment, and then we add to it some other items. At this stage, there's a lot of unidentified items. There's a pump station, there's a civil work, all kinds of things that haven't been identified. So we've thrown in a factor for that and other items, and you can see that we're estimating that this plant to do roughly 1 million gallons is 6.8 million is what would be required for that. Okay, so now we go into the next phase of our presentation where we talk about some modifications that we're recommending for the wastewater plant. One of the first things is the blower, which we've talked to you before. The blowers have been rebuilt a number of times. This is original equipment that's been there. It's very ineffective power-wise. Our analysis shows that based on just power cost, if you were to put in some of the new technology, high-speed turbine blowers, that you could buy a new blower and it would pay back the savings through the savings in about 7 to 8 years. Okay. I'm going to let Gabe talk about this. They just did the analysis on the plant.
Good evening, Gabe Brdmtng with Associates. What I want to talk to you about is the electrical site assessment that we did on the electrical equipment. You'll see two photographs here, one of which on the left side is your main service disconnecting means. You'll see that there is some spicing on the conductors. We found that a lot of moisture was infiltrating this disconnect, your main disconnect. We also found that the main breaker on the line side and lead side had a lot of rusting. We strongly recommend to replace this equipment to improve the reliability and safety risks that are present. On your right side, this is the lift station control panel. It appears to have been gone through an arc flash issue. As you can see on that motor starter on above, you now see how it's been arced. We recommend that this equipment is replaced as well. Just to talk about a few, the motor control center in the electrical room is an obsolete piece of equipment that has some issues, main issues as well with safety. Most of their buckets, motor starter buckets, are open, and a lot of either moisture or particles can go in there, and that presents a lot of safety risks to the personnel. We recommend replacing that piece of equipment as well. In summary, a lot of the electrical equipment is in very bad shape, and we recommend to replacing all of the electrical equipment to improve reliability and to improve the safety of your personnel.
Has there been an estimate on replacement cost? On electrical?
We haven't looked at that, but it's very rough. It's more of a percentage total cost.
Is that part of on the proposal here of the 300-something thousand on the electrical?
3.8? No. That is just strictly for the advanced treatment. We show some cost here for the wastewater. Basically, what we're recommending here is that the entire electrical system, the equipment and all the distribution would be replaced.
All right, so any repairs to the existing facility are not included in the 6.8? That's correct. Just want to make sure.
Correct. Okay, another need that we think needs to be addressed immediately is the aeration system. What you're looking at are pipes going across the one of the aeration channels, and they have lances that go down, which is where the water air is actually entering in the water. Look, if you look in the middle, you can see that there are lances at least over on the left side there, every foot or so. Well, that's what's supposed to be in the first, that's what's supposed to be in the last, and it's not there. So a lot of the aeration now is very ineffective because it's broken, basically. So we're recommending that this be replaced with fine bubble diffusers, which are mounted in the bottom, giving much better oxygen transfer into the wastewater. Another immediate need that we would recommend is the replacement of these airlift pumps. These two pipes that you see there, they put air in on the bottom of them, they lift up, and as the air rises, it pulls the activated sludge out of the clarifiers and puts it back into the aeration basin. That's your bugs going back into the basin for treatment. And the problem with an airlift pump is how much air do you put in it? If you want more flow, you put more air, but you're not really sure how much you're doing. So consequently, it's very difficult to control the concentration of the bugs in the aeration basin. So we're recommending that this be replaced with centrifugal pumps with very speed drives so that the operators then can control this very precisely. Now, all of these things, the pumps, the air, all those things add to the efficiency of the plant, which helps reduce your maintenance or your operational costs. Okay. And then what we're talking about here at the end of the plant, what we've shown in purple is the outfall line coming out. This is where it currently discharges at this point onto a piece of private property which you have an agreement with, which are some issues that need to be addressed. So we're proposing that the outfall be diverted over to the ship channel. It's a little over a mile of new pipe that would be required to get it over to that point. There are several advantages to doing that. Number one, it solves the issue that you have with the private property owner of where you're currently discharging. And number two, maybe the heavy metals issue which you're dealing with now, because it's higher than your permit level, this solves that, because by diverting it into the ship channel, you can actually divide what you're doing, or you can multiply your permit by about 4 times. So you can have higher limits of metals discharging into the ship canal than you can onto that piece of private property. So this solves the problem that you're facing with the heavy metals issue and you're really failing your monitoring test. Okay. All right, now we're going to move to what we call the next phase of the project. Those immediate things is we think you need to take care of immediately as part of the advanced treatment process. This next set, called near-term needs, are things that we would suggest that you look at in the maybe 5 to 7 year range, things that need to be in the plant to help improve the performance overall. Number one thing we're mentioning here is the force main that comes from pump station 11 into the plant. All wastewater coming into the plant comes through that pump station and this pipeline. Look at the next one. The current capacity with the pumps that you have in the lift station is 3.2 MGD. The plant is rated for a flow of 1.1 MGD. TCEQ says that you need to have a peaking factor of 4 if you don't have any data that says your peaking factor is something else. Because your lift station is a limiting factor, you really don't have any data. So we looked at and said, all right, if we have a 1.1 plant and we need 4 times that, it's 4.4 MGD is what that pump station needs to be able to pump to the plant to make sure you don't have collection problems or problems in the collection system with peak flows. What we did is we ran the analysis on the pump station and the force main. If you were to increase currently it's a 12-inch pipeline. If you were to increase that to 14, you would get you 4.2 MGD. That's not quite to the 4.4. But if you were to go to 16, you could get 5.2 MGD peak flow through that pump from that pump station. If you went to 8, 6.2. If you made 24, you get 8. So we're recommending that you look at 16, putting in that 16-inch pipeline, upsizing that, and then that would get you to the low 4.4. In the future, if you were to expand the plant and go to 2, you would need to get 8. So what you can do is you can parallel that rather than put in a pipeline when this is done, because that's significantly into the future.
So the additional cost to the 6.8?
Yes, those are in addition to the 6.8. We'll show you those costs in just a minute. Another near-term recommendation is headworks. Currently, this is your headworks. What it is a screen. Flow comes in, and someone has to go out there with a rake and remove anything that collects on it. The gaps are so wide, not a lot collects on it. So we're recommending that a new headworks be constructed, which will remove all the rags. But included in that will be grit removal. What they found, and we talked to TCEQ about this a few weeks ago, is if you don't have some way of removing all of that material, it winds up in your aeration basin. It takes up space, decreases your efficiency of treatment process, so you really need this kind of equipment upstream. Now, we pushed it off to a near term, 5 to 7 years out, saying that In order to minimize your initial capital outlay, we'll go with what we have. We'll put in just minimal right now, that the actual new headworks then would be constructed later. But in that interim, there will be increased maintenance in the aeration basins to keep it clean. Okay. Another near-term recommendation is to improve your solids handling. Now, right now you have the two center channels out there, if you're familiar with them. They provide only about 8 days of actually detention time for treatment of the solids. In order to meet Class B requirements, you need 40 days. Now, fortunately, in your situation, state requirements do not require you to meet Class B if you're taking it to a landfill, which is what you're doing. However, there is discussion that TCEQ is having about changing that regulation and saying even if you go to a landfill, Class B may be required. When that happens, you're going to need to add additional solids handling facilities. What we're recommending here is that you build 2 new digesters. Reason for 2 is for redundancy purposes. They would be sized to give you the 40 days detention time, so that they would give you more options. So if you ever decided to do something other than landfill, you would have that capability. Also included in that would be to provide mechanical dewatering. Belt presses, what we would typically look at, would then allow you to pull it out of the digester, dewater it, and then take it to the landfill or any other option that you may have. Now, where we would have to site that, and you'll see this in a further slide, is we're going to have to put it where your existing drying beds are. So you're going to lose those drying beds. So we would suggest that you build 2 additional drying beds to the west, which would then provide the redundancy for the belt press, because we'd only put 1 belt press in. Okay. Now we're moving to the long term, and basically the long term here is to provide additional capacity. Because we've looked at it, if you take all 4 of the channels, the 2 aeration basins and 2 center channels, which are digesters, and you convert them to aeration basins, you will be able to treat 2 million gallons in that aeration basin. The clarifiers are not designed for that flow. They're designed for basically the 1.1 with the peaking factor of 4. So you'll need a 3rd clarifier. So that would be a long-term solution or addition that would have to be added whenever you did that. Okay, let me just really recap what I've told you now about these. I'll do the first click. Okay, first item we would recommend here is the blowers. That you need to do those as part of the immediate work. Go ahead. Number 2 is placing all of the electrical system, bringing it up to code so it's no longer a safety issue. The aeration basins, we would be able to refit those with diffusers so that you would have good air transfer, oxygen transfer efficiency into the wastewater and better control of the process. And then we'd recommend that you have rest pumps going on there. And does it give me one more click? Okay, the outfall from the influent line from the wastewater treatment plant is something we also, well, that's the next one coming up. So the outfall line would have to be done as part of this one also. So go ahead. Moving now to the interim, or the mid-term projects, that would be force main coming into the plant, would have to be upgraded. Okay, go ahead. New headworks. Okay. We'd put in new digesters, new dewatering, belts and presses, and then also drying beds as done the redundancy backup for those. Okay. Go ahead and click. What's that? Oh, the flow splitter. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't catch up. The flow splitter. One of the problems that you have right now in the plant, it's kind of interesting. If you look at drawings, it shows the weir in the splitter box to the 2 clarifiers supposed to be 4 feet wide. For some reason, it was constructed as 3 feet wide. So that's a bottleneck in your hydraulic drops. And so what we would propose, because we are changing the flow pattern in the aeration basins, we'll put a new flow splitter on the south end, which will eliminate that bottleneck and help tremendously on the flow. Okay, and then the long term we're looking at is taking those 2 center ones, which are digesters right now, we convert those to aeration basins, and that will give you 2 Mgd capacity in the aeration basins. And then we'd have to add another clarifier in order to do that. And then if we were to put the advanced treatment here at the Port Isabel plant, this is where they would be located. As you can see, I kind of moved them so that they are partially into that piece of property which is owned by the city, not the district, for that we're trying to allow a little room between the existing facilities and those facilities, truck traffic, solids handling, chemical, those kinds of things. So when we talked about it's tight, that's how we could do. We managed to get that all on the site. Okay. All right, now costs. This is what you've been asking for. We talked about the $6.8 million for the advanced treatment. The immediate needs for the wastewater treatment plant is $3.8 million. You take those two, you're at $10.6 million. So that's what we're looking at and recommending as a project for you to move forward with in the near future here, is to put in those facilities, advanced treatment, and the modifications of the plant to provide the water for that treatment. Okay, the next one is the near-term treatment process, and that's an additional $5.6 million. Like I say, we're thinking those would be out in the range of 5 to 7 year time frame before you would actually implement those. And then the last one is with the plant expansion to 2 Lmwd, that'd be another $1.6 million. Okay. So basically where we are now with our study, what we're doing is we're down to making some decisions, which we kind of give you the background today. We need to select the site for the advanced wastewater treatment plant. Now, obviously, as we talked, there are some issues that would need to be resolved. We need to meet with TCEQ, talk about the issue of permitting for the brine along the waterway and whatever impacts it may have on wetlands and those kinds of things. Then we need to determine the discharge permit requirements. Just exactly what level of treatment we're having. We showed you what we're anticipating, and we think these are pretty good numbers, but here again they need to be talked with and firmed up with TCEQ. And then we need to define the scope of the improvements at the Port Isabel plant. We kind of showed you what we've done with that, talked over with the plant, so we think we're pretty comfortable that we've got the right treatment process to meet a quality that we can put into the advanced treatment and cause problems. And then we need to look at the alternatives on the advanced treatment. What we're recommending is the first three alternatives. The decision on that probably will not be made until we actually get into design. We want to leave those options as we refine them, and then we can come back to you and say, these are the ones we're recommending. So then following the study, we would move into the design phase of those facilities. With that, concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much. We're open for questions.
When is the study going to be completed? What is the timeline?
We will have the draft study ready October 18th, the draft ready for you guys to look at for staff.
So at that time, we'll know how long the study is going to continue, or is that going to be
No, that would be, that's the extent of our contract, is to finish the study. And then we be thinking about getting into the preliminary engineering design and then the design of the facilities.
You said you'd be complete about the 18th.
Yes, we'll have the draft report to staff by the 18th of October.
And the permitting, who applies for the permitting? Will staff, right, or will all be involved in the permitting at an additional cost, or what?
Well, we haven't even gotten to the permitting yet. I mean, when we can go ahead and put that in the next phase for you guys to consider. But we will meet with TCEQ to get basically their consensus, and we'll talk about this environmental situation that you brought up, which is good to know, and get their, when we get into the permitting, that would be into the next phase, basically.
Haney.
Yes, sir.
Let's say we select site, okay?
Right.
One site is selected, time frame.
Time frame to be able
to have everything up and running.
Well, we'll have to go through design. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have to design. Right. Yeah, construction-wise.
Okay. How many?
18 months to 2 years. Yeah.
18 months,
Yeah.
2 years.
Right.
And that's just for the advanced treatment, right?
No, that's for everything.
That's
Everything.
including what we need to.
That includes phase one on the near-term stuff that we have.
We can start that at any time we want.
That's correct.
If we have the money.
Well, put money down.
I know. That was plenty of money. All right. Very good. I appreciate it. Good. Very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Question from the audience? Could you approach the mic? Could you approach the mic?
I agree with Rudy. The discharge permit into that mangrove filled drain ditch is an issue. I'm working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife on some issues on that. I didn't hear you consider groundwater reinjection.
We have looked at that cost, doing that cost is very high, so we're hoping before we even get to that, work something out.
Yeah, well, but the permitting is a whole lot easier. The permitting is easy on groundwater injection, correct?
It is doing that.
Okay.
Can I make a quick follow-up on that? So the permitting factors strongly into the site selection. So if we were to put sites and facilities at the wastewater plant, we would be piggybacking on the new, very standard discharge permit for the wastewater plant. Should not have to go through as much permit and as many permitting hoops as you're talking about right now.
If we left it here in Port Isabel is a lot easier than going to Lmwd per permitting.
It may or may not be. So it really depends.
Are you aware of wetland fill waiver on the east side of the reservoir? You might want to talk to him.
Yeah, we'll have that discussion.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
That concludes your report, I take it?
No.
I'm glad of that. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, consider and remove from the table the following item pulled on the board meeting August 27, 2014. Consider approved resolution number 105-0814, levying ad valorem tax rate for the year of 2014.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we're going to do anything on that until we do are we having a workshop on that first?
Workshop on the 20th, huh?
We're supposed to be having a workshop on this.
Late, but you want to keep,
I believe that it was mentioned the last meeting that this has to go by the 12th.
you want to leave it on the table and no action taken.
Well, it was my understanding we have until September 1st to do this, and I thought we had a workshop scheduled on the 16th or 23rd or something.
The workshop, but weren't we supposed to send this one by the 12th?
We were told that we had until the 1st. That's the last meeting.
Not that I
Yeah.
recall.
That's what Mr. Gomez told us. And that's why that's why we had the workshop. Otherwise, I would have had a workshop this past Saturday. Because I'm not approving this until we have a resolution.
This one, if you remember that you had mentioned also that if we would change the wording on it, in the resolution to say that it excelled the payments of the bonds, that you would go for it and approve it.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a workshop on it. That's a contention. So
Either that or the budget. The budget was in the workshop, no?
Yeah, the budget is in the workshop.
this was
Yes,
supposed to be a
gentlemen, I hear a motion to remove from the table. We have a motion to remove this from the table. Do I hear a second? We have a motion and a second, and now we're discussion.
You call for a vote.
Not yet. Now we're under the question at the time, under Robert Rule of Order.
Call for a vote.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion don't carry. I'll go no too. Okay. That eliminates item 7 then. Because it was not, it stays on the table. Correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor. The motion was from the table, diver for majority vote, so it just stays on the table.
Stays on the table.
Okay, so item 7 is moot. Going on to number 8, concern approve an interlocal agreement with the City of South Padre Island for Laguna Madre Water District to perform cleaning of its storm drains. We have a motion on item 8.
No, I know, but,
Is there a motion on item 8?
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
as soon as we get a motion and a second, we'll go to discussion.
okay.
We got a motion?
Can't see that.
Mr. Kiplinger, we have a second?
Second.
We have a second? All in favor? Motion carried.
May I make a comment now, Mr. Chairman? I'm concerned that there seems to be a very big issue here that needs to be resolved. Do you have a timeline or not to set your rate? Are you under some kind of deadline to do it? I've just heard.
Do it by the 1st.
You were told.
No.
October 1st.
Yeah, October 1st. We had to have it in mind.
Because we're in September, so by October 1st. And information is by tomorrow. From the tax department. So we got a quandary here. Either that, if you don't do it tonight, and I go verify this because I wasn't aware this would be an issue, and we got to set it for budget reasons and for other reasons. We need to call an emergency meeting so you can set it. No, again, I'm just listening to you guys, but if
That order of business is passed.
I understand that, but I think that under the circumstances, it's well worth entertaining that thought, because, I mean, you don't want to run amok, foul any deadlines for the tax rate. It's up to you all.
I'm just very disappointed in staff. I'm very deeply disappointed in staff that we were told one thing in the last meeting, and now we're getting told another thing. I'm very disappointed in staff right now. And we were told we were going to have a workshop on the tax until, and then we were going to bring up the vote. That's what we were told. I tell you what, let's go ahead and call the tape. Let's hear the last meeting. That's what I remember. I have a very good memory.
Call a special meeting. Somebody call a special meeting.
Tomorrow is the 12th, and 11th means Friday. Friday's the 12th.
Okay, I thought this deadline was like the 1st of October.
That's what we were told. That's why we put the workshop we did, so we can have it before the last meeting of the month. Well, that's what we budget. I think the budget deadline. No.
Well, I thought we had.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to say something. I thought we were under.
We ain't gonna have any more money for you. We're not doing taxes this year.
Yeah. As long as it was reworded, and I can't remember what it was.
I did mention that. I did mention that, but we were also told.
We weren't going to
Mr.
change.
Kiplinger,
Jeff,
you remember,
saying we weren't going to change any of the tax rates, and we were going to let everything remain the same as far as the discounts for October, November, December. That's what I remember.
it was mentioned that if the
Right, and it was mentioned that if the wording was to excel the payments of 2012 bonds,
Gentlemen, stop.
that you had no problem with it.
All you stop. That order of business is already over. It should have been brought up when it came up. We are under item number 8 right now.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order. You've got a communication from your tax entity asking for this, asking that this be sent by Friday. It seems to me, as your counsel, that substance should govern over form. At this point, because otherwise, you're gonna have bigger problems. And I'm required to alert you to that. So, substance should govern.
Gentlemen?
Go back and visit the thing with an open eye, or recess the meeting and go get the minutes and get this
Declare
put over
10-minute
and vote it
recess.
today.
Yeah, we can do that.
10-minute recess. Let's try to get there. Yeah, this is where they long. I declare the meeting back in order. At this time,
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for my comment.
I'm going to request motion to return to item 6. Motion to return to item 6. Do I hear a second? That was the second. All in favor? Opposed? None. Okay, we're back to item 6.
I'll make a motion to remove the item from the table.
I have a motion to remove. We have a second. Is there any question? Is there any question? All in favor, say aye. Motion carried. None opposed. Yeah, consider number, on item 7 now, consider and approve resolution number 1050814, levying ad valorem tax rate for the year of 2015. Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a comment first. The
No,
changes.
sir, you can get comment after the, because this is a moot subject until we have a motion and a second.
He's going by Robert
I'm
rules.
going to go by Robert Rules order because it turns into
Right.
we have a motion to approve, we have a second. Now, under the question, now under the question.
No.
Who made the first motion?
Made a motion, Jeff seconded.
Thank you.
Now, under the question, anybody have anything under the question? Carlos?
I have a comment, not a question.
Make.
I just wanted to mention that the third paragraph is where we added the sentence to accelerate the payment of principal of series, the fourth paragraph.
To pay down the bucks.
Right,
Third.
to accelerate the payment. And we had taken 2005 off. I don't know why it's there. It's 2012 only.
Well, it should be 2005.
Five?
Yeah, it should be, they want to pay off that quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in there. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I was off the subject. So that is correct. So that's where we added that sentence.
I would like to have it put on the workshop, that means so we can discuss, what money is left over from our tax, what we
Yes,
collected
sir.
from tax.
Got it.
And we know how much exactly we have to accelerate.
There you go. Thank you. All right.
Are there any other questions, any other comments to be made? Hearing no more questions, those in favor of item 7, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Does that make y'all, these obvious we did that?
Now, we have to.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
now, we're going back to item 8. Consider and approve an interlocal agreement with the city of South Padre Island through the Madre Water District perform cleaning of storm drain.
I already made the motion, I think we passed on
Did
it.
we pass that one?
Yeah.
Well, I get it done. Yeah. Okay, consider number 9, consider and approve the disbursement. Have a motion to approve disbursement. So move. Rudy, Robert, on the second. Is there a question on disbursements at this time?
Yes.
Question?
Page 4. Page 4, disbursement to Lmwd distributors for hydration packs. And my question is, why is it under the water system development charges? Why is it under WFT? Because it's not hydration packs, is what, Gatorade stuff?
That's correct. That's Gatorade.
All right, why would that be under system development charges when system development charges money should be spent on fixing fixing problems?
That's correct. I believe that this project that we're doing at one of the clarifiers is under the SDC funding at the water treatment plant. I believe that that's why they put it in that account, because they're working on one of the clarifiers right now, and they have to hydrate back due to the heat, and inside the clarifier is pretty hot in there. I believe that's why they put it in there.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was a system development.
We are
project.
constructing that clarifier in-house. We are, and they're getting the job done pretty good too.
Awesome.
Yes.
I had another question on page 7. We had a payment to the law office, Mr. Glenn Jarvis.
I can explain that.
Yes, sir.
As you know, we have been trying to secure some water rights from a gentleman by the name of Robert Pedraza. And he has provided some limited title to the water rights. So a regular title company doesn't do that, so we have to go to somebody that specializes in giving us an opinion later on the veracity of the title. And that's all he does is water rights research to make sure that there's clear title and there's no other liens or whatever. Yes, sir.
Very good. I have a question about this, Charles. I was just looking, you've been pretty well staying on the office water radio, right?
Well, yeah, for the water rights, the change of ownership was submitted to TCEQ for review and approval about 30 days ago. Typically, they'll take, 90 to 100 days, if not longer, to review and approve. The only issue is getting clear title at this point, which there's an issue between the attorney and the current owner, like his own attorney, in dispute over fees, attorney fees. So if they can get that resolved, I mean, that should release a lien and be able to get clear title. So we're just going through review and approval right now.
Are there any other questions on your disbursements, gentlemen? Is it yet? No. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Second?
We definitely making motions and seconds.
You did?
Move on to the General Manager report.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board, I just want to advise the board that the official ballots have come in today, this afternoon, and I supplied you guys with a copy. And that it's moving forward accordingly to all the rules, regulations. Hopefully that everything keeps moving forward in the right direction and we get the election going on November the 4th. And everything seems to be okay. We paid the monies that was owed to the county and they're starting everything back to normal. So.
Are you going to provide the dates for early voting and all that?
Yes. Yes, they should. What else did you find on that? But they should, yes. Yeah, everything's...
It's already on the website.
Yeah.
Carlos, I had a question. I don't know. The island did away with the election this year because they had unopposed candidates, right? So I'm wondering if the county is still going to be holding early voting on the island.
I am more than sure that they will, because they mentioned it to us.
Okay.
But we will find out.
It was supposed to be the island and Benny's all right.
Benny's here. Yes.
No, they canceled it. They don't have to do an election system to all the candidates are approved. Is that correct?
You can.
Where do they go to governor?
It would be online.
Yeah.
Okay, so election day.
They have to have an early vote because, yeah, right.
And so we'll be there on that night.
There won't be anybody up from the island on the ballot.
Right.
All right. So, check.
Yeah.
Okay, on the next one here is Tech Pro. I've supplied you with a letter that was sent to me, directed to me as from Tech Pro, Philip Stearman. And I've been researching every page of this document here, and I have a response to them, which I agree on several things, and I haven't completed that response. I will send it to council to review it before I send it, and I will provide a copy for you guys before, I do send it out, see if there's any questions. So I'm looking at every little inspection and everything that was done, and some of the stuff that I seen myself, where he's claiming a lot of things that possibly are not correct. So that's all I have for Tech Pro.
going on to the district engineer's report. Now you can talk now.
All right, so my first item was Quatis Pump Station, but I'm gonna start off with Lift Station 19 first, because it's the same contractor, so they're both related. And they actually requested substantial completion today at Lift Station 19. So the new wet well, new pump station's online. They've converted the existing wet well to a receiving manhole. And
Lift Station 19,
Lift Station
went
19.
today.
Yes, it was turned on today. So basically, we have it. Oh geez, I mean, you know, there's been so much extension. I think, based on contract documents, it was February, but I don't think that was a realistic time frame to complete. They've been working pretty hard and steady for the entire length of this time.
Supposed to be done last February?
Right, but there's been a lot of extensions for change orders and rain delays, and I mean, I don't anticipate going into an LD issue with this contract. We're just, you know, it's complete and we're good to go. I mean, the only thing really at schedule right now is the backup generator startup is scheduled for Monday.
They're not going to get another 25 engineer inspect for $20,000.
No. This one, it's just Lmwd will be here Friday to do the walkthrough, and then we'll go address the punch list and release retainage, ideally by the end of the month, and we'll be good to go. And so that kind of leads to the excavation crew. They were pouring the grout or converting that wet well to a manhole today. And so now that they're wrapped up, they're going to be going to Quatis Pump Station to fix a pipe leak tomorrow. And that pipe leak is really what's been holding us back from starting up the new pump station, because we don't want to go try to run that pump station knowing that the section is leaking. So they're going to get down, excavate. They already have the shoring on site. Find out where that leak is at, get it fixed up, and then we'll be back on track to get that finished up. So we're probably looking first week of October to be at a substantial completion with the Quatis Pump Station. So that's basically where we're at with that job. And then, of course, that includes adding VFDs to seal the pumps at Reservoir 4.
What?
At Reservoir 4, it's in the same construction contract. There's 3 pumps out there, and one has a VFD, and the other 2, the VFDs were destroyed by lightning strike. And so we're going to be restoring those 2 with new VFDs, and we're also fixing the electric operation on that electric operator valve. So that actuator's getting fixed, and all that's going to also be in the same time frame. So we'll have SCADA back in service at Reservoir 4, and of course everything going at Quatis Pump Station as well. So that's what those 2 are at. For Water Plant 2 emergency power, the ATS is repaired and it's back on site. The controls were fine, so those didn't have to get fixed. It was, so that 18,000 range was the actual cost for repairing that transfer switch, and the contractor is already there working as we speak, pulling, doing all the prep work, getting ready for a shutdown. Maybe ready for a shutdown in about 5 to 6 days, but we're going to make sure our work is done at Water Plant 1 first before we do the shutdown to tie in the backup power at Water Plant 2. But it's back on track, so we're moving forward there.
So, Harold, on Water Plant 2, I've noticed for the last week or so, week and a half, there's intermittent times that I have low pressure at the house.
Okay.
Not all the time, intermittent. You noticed it too?
Was it especially on the weekend or during the week?
Morning to evening, like at 8, 9 o'clock sometimes. Like last night, 8, 9 o'clock.
Wow. We'll look into that because I know that they supply all the water even to Port Isabel, and I haven't had any issues.
But
Well,
look
maybe-
up for going to be that have low pressure, and imagine what it is.
I don't remember what day it was in a week.
Yeah, maybe we'll look into the valve crosses.
Not
Maybe
every day.
there might be something wrong.
Well, did we ever close that 12-inch valve on Gulf House?
They
We'll
might have.
check our
They
valves,
might
make sure we
have.
don't have something
We'll
close.
check into it tomorrow.
And also, well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that on this capital improvement plan that we can go through in the workshop. They're also talking about adding some loops, like in Fernandez, Mesquite area, and that'll help take care of some of these bottlenecks that might be in the system. But yeah, I mean, I guess moving on to wastewater treatment, there's I guess you already saw the needs at Port Isabel with Carollo's presentation. And so we're probably going to dive into it in more detail through a workshop session where we start going through a 5-year capital improvement plan. The wastewater collection improvements for Andy Bowie, Isablanca and Port Isabel are going to be provided to Dan Jackson, so we can use that to start working on the rate study. And then we have to decide if it's going to be funded through tax revenue or rate revenue. And so that's part of what we'll have to be thinking about here over the next couple of months. But right now I'm putting together a 5-year capital improvement plan that includes, you know, the Clarifier 3 rehab at Isablanca, grid removal, and the same grid removal, and we need additional blowers on top of just replacing existing anti-buoy. And just, you know, the other part is just the items from the hydraulic modeling study that CDM Smith did. A lot of those projects are going to be showing up probably for the first time for reporting on the 5-year capital improvement plan, so we can start considering the big picture and seeing how we can. Oh, well, that 30-foot section that we did on the influent channel was, you remember how much? I think it was like 15,000 for that 30-foot section where we fixed the air on.
Look, when I was looking at the picture, it looked like headers in place, but the drops are called them spikes or something like that.
Right. Well, like right now, the effluent channel is Isablanca, which comes back to grit. It's a 14-foot deep channel, and I would say about 10 feet of that is sand and grit. And so when it's filled with sand, you can't go in there and put a diffuser or drop it because you got to remove all that sand first. So that's kind of phased out over a 5-year plan to be addressing those kind of issues. Yeah, well, you got to remove it. Yeah.
The pictures we saw from this wastewater here plant in Port Isabel they did, and they presented it in here. I would like, you know, maybe the board would kind of like, when we do have the workshop, I would like to see those same pictures from wastewater plants on Island and see how it compares. As far as the electrical, as far as what they're talking about, the head water,
Headworks.
yeah, the headwork, everything.
They're all similar, and we'll take those pictures.
Yeah, well, we have a good picture just recently during low flow. We were able to see how much sand is actually in that Isablanca aeration basin. It's pretty bad. So
not aerating good either.
Right. I mean,
Any other business, any other questions, or another business? Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved to adjourn. Have a second. All in favor?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, David.
Here, Dave.